Imagine stepping back into the bitter winters of late 18th century America, where settlers huddled in drafty log cabins, their faces blackened by soot from smoky fireplaces that gobbled up precious wood like a starving beast, leaving families shivering through endless nights as the wind howled outside and the flames flickered weakly against the cold that seeped through every crack, turning simple survival into a daily battle against nature's unrelenting grip. Now picture one man, a brilliant but eccentric exile named Benjamin Thompson, later known as Count Rumford, who dared to challenge the age-old ways of heating homes, drawing mockery from hardened pioneers who saw his strange ideas as nothing more than foolish tinkering. Yet this very invention would soon prove to be a game, slashing wood consumption in half while doubling the warmth that radiated into living spaces, a shocking revelation that transformed how people lived through the harshest seasons. Born in Massachusetts in 1753, Thompson was no ordinary settler. He was a self-taught scientist with a mind that raced ahead of his time. Apprenticed to a doctor before diving into experiments with heat and fire. But his loyalty to the British during the American Revolution forced him to flee to Europe, where he rose through the ranks in Bavaria, earning his noble title for revolutionizing everything from soup kitchens to military uniforms, all while obsessing over the inefficiencies of traditional fireplaces that wasted heat up the chimney and filled rooms with choking smoke. Problems he had witnessed firsthand in the drafty homes of his youth. In the grand halls of London and the modest cabins of early America, fireplaces were crude affairs wide, deep pits where logs burned haphazardly, sending most of the heat straight skyward, while downdrafts pushed smoke back into the eyes of anyone trying to stay warm, leading to constant coughing, wasted resources, and homes that never truly escaped the chill, especially in frontier settlements where wood was hard-won from frozen forests. And every cord counted toward making it through another brutal winter without freezing to death. Rumford, haunted by these flaws, began sketching designs in the 1790s, inspired by his observations of airflow and heat dynamics during his travels, realizing that the key lay not in bigger fires but in smarter ones, where the chimney acted less like a wasteful escape route, and more like a controlled tunnel that harnessed the wind's power to draw smoke away efficiently while trapping warmth inside. An idea so radical that when he first proposed it, whispers of madness followed him, with skeptics calling his narrow, towering structure a wind tunnel that would surely collapse or fail to light at all. As he installed his first prototypes in aristocratic English homes and later influenced American adaptations, the initial reactions were a mix of curiosity and doubt, with servants and builders shaking their heads at the odd angles and restricted openings, wondering how such a contraption could possibly outperform the massive hearths they knew. Yet Rumford pressed on, driven by a passion to alleviate the suffering he remembered from colonial winters, where families burned through stacks of wood only to huddle closer to fires that offered little comfort. But what if this mocked invention actually worked miracles, turning scorn into admiration overnight? As we'll see, the secrets hidden in its design were about to unfold, leaving everyone wondering why no one had thought of it sooner. Diving deeper into Rumford's revolutionary design, picture the fireplace, not as a simple hole in the wall, but as a meticulously engineered system where every angle and curve served a purpose. Starting with the shallow depth that pushed the fire forward into the room, allowing heat to radiate outward like sunlight rather than vanishing up the flue, combined with widely splayed sidewalls angled at about 135 degrees to bounce warmth directly at the occupants, creating a cozy envelope that enveloped the space in comfort while using far less fuel than the greedy, inefficient models of the past. A breakthrough that stemmed from Rumford's tireless experiments with airflow, where he discovered that streamlining the narrow passage just above the firebox acted like a wind tunnel, accelerating smoke upward with minimal turbulence and preventing those pesky backdrafts that plagued traditional setups. He achieved this by restricting the chimney's opening to match the fire's needs precisely, inserting bricks to form a smooth, rounded breast that guided hot gases seamlessly, while adding a clever smoke shelf behind the throat to catch any descending cold air and redirect it, setting up an internal circulation where cooler outside air flowed down one side and mixed with rising smoke on the other, harnessing dynamic pressure to pull everything efficiently out, much like a natural Venturi effect that made the chimney self-sustaining and remarkably effective even in gusty conditions. This wasn't just clever, it was transformative, addressing the core wastes of old fireplaces where up to 90% of heats escaped unused, forcing people to chop and haul twice as much wood through snowdrifts, whereas Rumford's version captured that energy, heating twice the area with half the logs, a fact proven when early adopters reported rooms staying toasty hours after the flames died down. All because the design minimized the loss of warmed room air that got sucked up with the smoke in conventional chimneys. Influenced by his scientific background, Rumford published detailed papers in 1796 and 1798, explaining how the tall Nara profile, often derided as looking like a precarious tower, actually enhanced the updraft. Drawing on principles of physics he had studied during his time in Bavaria, where he reformed everything from army rations to public heating, applying the same logic to make fireplaces clean-burning wonders that qualified under emerging standards for efficiency, reducing soot buildup and health hazards in an era when respiratory issues from indoor smoke were commonplace. As word spread across the Atlantic, American settlers, including Thomas Jefferson, who installed them at Monticello, began Rumfordizing their hearths, rebuilding with these precise modifications that turned mocked experiments into household staples, yet not without initial resistance from those accustomed to bulky, familiar designs, who feared the changes would snuff out fires or invite collapses, only to be astonished when tests showed the new chimneys lit easily, burned steadily, and transformed frigid cabins into havens of warmth. But how did this invention fare in the real world? Amid the skepticism of rugged frontiersmen, the true test was coming, and it would silence the doubters in ways no one expected. As Rumford's fireplace took hold in the early 1800s, the tide turned dramatically. Was one skeptical settlers across America and Europe rushing to adopt the design that had been labeled a wind tunnel folly, only to find their homes transformed into efficient sanctuaries where a single load of wood lasted twice as long, radiating heat that filled entire rooms and even adjacent spaces. A stark contrast to the old ways where constant stoking was needed just to keep fingers from going numb. And this shift wasn't just practical, it sparked a cultural change, as families gathered comfortably without the haze of smoke or the dread of fuel shortages, leading to widespread installations from humble cabins to grand estates like Jefferson's where the president himself praised its ingenuity for making Virginia winters bearable while conserving resources in a young nation hungry for innovation. The impact rippled outward, inspiring further advancements like the Rumford roaster, a cast-iron oven that cooked food evenly with minimal waste, and influencing the development of modern kitchen ranges that controlled fire more precisely, all stemming from Rumford's core insight that efficiency came from science, not size, a lesson that echoed through the 19th century as his fireplaces became standard until the rise of central heating around 1850. Though many originals still function today in historic homes, proving their enduring brilliance. Even Henry David Thoreau, in his writings on simple living, listed the Rumford as a modern convenience worth embracing, highlighting how it allowed people to focus on life's essentials rather than endless chores. And in Frontier Tales, stories emerged of pioneers who initially laughed at the tall, skinny chimneys only to beg for the blueprints after enduring one more icy night, their conversions turning isolated mockers into enthusiastic advocates, who spread the word through letters and demonstrations, ultimately saving countless cords of wood and improving health by clearing the air of persistent smoke. This invention didn't just heat homes. It symbolized human triumph over nature's harshness, reminding us that bold ideas, even when ridiculed, can reshape daily life. And today, as we face our own energy challenges, Rumford's principles live on in efficient stoves and eco-friendly designs that echo his quest for smarter warmth. So, if this tale of ingenuity against the odds has sparked your curiosity about history's hidden gems, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories that bring the past alive, and drop a comment below sharing what old invention you'd love to see revived. Let's keep the conversation burning.